Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Activities for People Living with Dementia. We're proud to offer this series with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and the United Way of Tarrant County. Some of our programs are recorded and some are made available for viewing through a YouTube channel for future use. To find us on YouTube, type in Dementia Friendly Fort Worth. Click on our logo, which is a longhorn with a blue background, and choose the word videos. I am Martha Brown, your host for today's activities. This afternoon, we're going to do Flashback. I'm proud to bring this to you because Flashback changes every time we look at it. Some are the same, some are different. Let's see what we have today. Hello, Patricia.
Hello.
Hey, all right. Well, you've done Flashback with us before, so let's see if I can find Flashback for us. Here we go. And it helps if I share my screen so that you can see it too, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I love it. Okay. We have what? A premium saltine can. Do you remember when saltines came in a can?
No, I remember they came in a box, a big size and a smaller size.
Boxes, yes. The boxes were right after the cans, weren't they?
Yeah, I never had seen a can.
Oh, that's something. This can looks like it's been well worn. Somebody evidently used it for other things.
Oh, yeah, the opening, I guess it does something to the edges of the can.
Right. And they weren't all perfect, were they?
No.
I remember when we had cans at my house, Mom always saved them and used them for other things, whether it was holding pencils or crayons or little nickels and dimes for us for the ice cream man or a shopping list. She made good use out of tins.
Oh, it's like knickknacks.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't have a whole lot of drawers, so we made good use of tins. Well, let's see what else we have. This picture came from a movie. If you look in the top left-hand side, the lady in the picture is Beatrice Arthur. She played on Maude back a long time ago. And Beatrice was in a movie, and I thought this truck was just so unusual.
Yeah, that's pretty.
It is pretty, yeah. It doesn't look like any kind of truck I've ever seen before, but it looked old.
Yeah, I never seen Maude Beatrice and Arthur in a movie before. This is the first time you pointed it out.
Yeah, I'll have to find out what movie that was and share that with you sometime.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that. I don't know that this is a particular type of a truck, but I just remember that she was in a town and this truck showed up. I just had to take a picture of it. Did you ever have a car or a truck that color?
No, I don't even like that color. I like dark colors.
I do too. If you'll notice, the truck is orange, and I made the label, and the label says red truck. So maybe I need to go get my color wheel out and start all over again. Oh, yeah. Well, let's change this to something a little more pleasant. Oh, boy. The last time we talked about cans and tins and saltines, someone mentioned a sucrettes box. Have you ever had sucrettes?
Yes, in a can, yes.
Uh-huh. This little can was children's cherry flavor. I don't know if they still have sucrettes anymore, but the little tin was so handy for a lot of things.
I just wonder if you would find it in the drugstore.
Oh, I don't know. They probably come in a box nowadays.
Wow.
And probably individually wrapped rather than loose in a tin like these used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you had an empty tin like this today, Patricia, what would you likely use it for?
I was like a penny saver. I probably put pennies in there.
Oh, good idea. Maybe even pennies for playing bingo.
Oh, yeah.
But you've got a pink marker that's working really well, don't you?
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah.
I'm glad that marker's working for you. It takes a long time to get it just right. Yeah. What, Woodstock, what are you complaining about? I hear you complaining. Little, what are you complaining about?
He doesn't see the audience out here. It's just me.
He likes attention. And, you know, when mother's working, he doesn't get 100% of attention. That makes a difference. So if you had a secrets tin, you'd put pennies in it.
Mhm.
I probably would too, because pennies are hard to keep up with.
Because I spend the silver on the candy, you know, that 2 for 5 cents or a penny worth of candy. I remember those days.
Oh my, I used to get 2 caramels for a penny.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And now they're about a dime a piece. That's really something. And on the day that, oh, the candy lady only set up 1 day a week in our school.
Oh.
And I remember that was a really special day to have an extra penny or 2 for something sweet. Thank you for that memory, Patricia. I'd already let that go out.
Yeah, I remember when the candy was so cheap, but it's
Mm.
gotten smaller, the candy, and you got half air and half bag of candy. It doesn't make sense for the price right now.
Yeah, not the truth. Kind of like buying a bag of potato chips.
Yeah,
It's half air.
yeah.
I'll agree with that one. Well, let's see what else we have today. Now, this one isn't so old. We've probably seen this before, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah, that was, and I put this picture in here just because I used to have a blue Honda and I wanted to keep a picture to remind me so that maybe 10 years from now, this might pique my interest and make me remember the olden days. Thank you.
That's a nice car.
It's a nice car, yeah. I got so old and stiff that I couldn't, this is a 2-door. I couldn't get into the car anymore without plumping down in the front seat. And there was no way to put my walker in the car and it had to go in the trunk. So the car that I had when I started using a walker had to go away. So this is my memory and thank you for putting up with me. Let's move along to something else.
Okay.
Yeah, did we talk about jellies?
Oh yeah, the shoes. I told you I had white feet.
Wide feet. Yes. Okay. Well, I have wide feet too, and we don't wear those anymore, but they were nice to remember. And didn't they have bright colors? That I can't imagine orange and neon green.
No, and with the hot sun out there, I don't know how they can wear those shoes.
Oh, yeah, I bet it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, let's just move along from that one. Oh, we talked about Heidi last week, and I made myself go and watch the movie, and I just finished it this morning. I had forgotten the story. Would you like a reminder, or do you remember the story?
I don't remember the story.
Okay. It starts out with Heidi is an orphan and she's been given to her aunt, and her aunt doesn't want her anymore. So the aunt takes Heidi to live in the mountains with the grandfather. Everybody thinks that the grandfather is an old grump because he lives by himself and he hardly ever talks to anybody, and he just has goats. And she goes in and she softens the old man's heart, and they start getting along really well. Sometime later, the mean aunt comes back and steals her away from the grandfather and takes her into town to live with a little girl who's had an accident and can't walk, and he's in a wheelchair. And she takes her to be the child's companion. sort of selling her, as it were, to the family. It's quite an interesting story. It ends well, and I won't spoil it for you.
Okay.
But it does some back and forth, and it's on TV if you can look really hard to find it. I made myself find it. This is back when compact cars were ugly.
Oh, yes.
Let's see, this car is about 50 years old. And don't you know, every one of them sitting in a car graveyard by now.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever see a Fiat this color?
No.
That was a strange color. But back then, they used brighter colors with smaller cars. I guess they thought it would be easier to see.
Yeah, it's got green everywhere around the car.
Yes. Isn't that unusual? That looks like it might have been taken at the Fort Worth Botanic Gardens. Come here, sweetie pie. Ow. Well, okay, the bird doesn't want to be picked up. Never mind. Well, this just reminds me that cars used to be more colorful and more boxy than they are these days. And this is another thing that I want to go back and hush and remember in another 10 or 20 years and still have the picture. Come here, baby. There you go. Okay. We talked about ghosts this morning, didn't we?
It's funny. Is that a movie?
Casper the Friendly Ghost was a cartoon.
Oh.
Casper was a good ghost, and he was always getting into adventures, but he wasn't mean. He was just sweet. I think he probably was a little boy ghost. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a Casper before. I think it is a boy.
Yeah. Well, obviously he was a nice boy because he's helping the clock out with getting some water, washing his hands. You don't see cartoons like that anymore, do you?
Oh, no.
No.
Those were the good cartoons.
They were, weren't they?
Yeah.
We could sit and eat our cereal, and Saturday mornings, it was okay for me to sit in the floor next to the TV and eat my cereal by myself on Saturday morning. It was a treat to get to do that because we weren't all rushing to get somewhere. This morning we had the artful moments from the Amon Carter Museum of American Art, and her topic today happened to be ghosts.
Oh.
So this is a perfect segue from this morning, is to tie these two programs together. I bet you Peggy would love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a picture of this and send it to Peggy and see if maybe she'll appreciate it. There we go. I'll send that later. Okay, what do we have next? Now, when did you move to Texas, Patricia?
Oh my God, maybe 15 years ago.
Oh, so you've never seen this.
No.
Interstate 30 that runs between downtown Dallas and downtown Fort Worth used to be a toll road. You had to stop. If you look at the right-hand side, there's a car facing away. The cars had to stop here and pay money either to the toll booth guy or to throw money into a big chute to pay for the toll to go between Dallas and Fort Worth. And there were toll booths along the way, so that if you only went part of the way, you only had to pay part of the toll, depending on how far you went. And this car is coming at us, and it was coming from somewhere west of Dallas, into Dallas. And this was taken in 1957.
Oh,
look at those old cars. Hey.
It's probably where you see the little tags on the cars. I guess they go through through that, right?
Oh, yeah, there are toll tags now.
Yeah.
So they've been able to do away with all of this because of toll tags. Mhm. And frankly, this is a whole different system. This particular one was just set up to pay for this toll road between Dallas and Fort Worth. And they promised that when the toll road was paid for, that they'd take down the toll booths. And they did.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it was sometime in the late 70s, early 80s, maybe. I may have that wrong. But it seems like it took them 20 or 30 years to pay for that road.
wow.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what kind of cars were pictured going through. Come here, baby. Come here. You be a good boy. Just a second. Let me give him some food. Come here. Come here. You want some food? Look at this. You want some food? Oh, okay. Well, there you go. He just wanted something to chew on. Here we go. Oh my goodness. Did you ever have children's books as a child?
Yes, the elephant. Uh,
The elephant, like Howdy Doody?
yeah,
Or was it a circus book?
I think it was a circus book. Yeah,
Uh-huh. They had all different kinds.
the other one I don't remember.
I had 3 or 4 as a child, and I just loved those books. I wore them out. I colored in them. I dog-eared the corners. I remember I just loved those books, and I would read them again and again and again.
I seen them at a bookstore, not I saw in Cooper. I seen where you go in the back and you see the children's section, and they have those old books like that.
Oh my goodness, they still have them, huh?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Well, I guess there are young children everywhere that love reading. This is part of what made me love reading. Do you like to read?
Yes, I used to be a bookworm. I'm not so much right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't read a lot.
Do you like to read fiction or biographies or?
A little of everything.
Uh-huh. Well, that's pretty well-rounded in my book.
Yeah,
I've always loved to read.
I should try to go back to reading more.
Well, if you do, share with me. I'd love to know what you're reading, and if I find something interesting, I'll share back. How's that?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can talk about reading. We sure can. And look at that. There's Mary. Hi, Mary.
Hi.
Hey, we're doing Flashback today. We're looking at pictures and talking about the things that we used to know about, or we used to have, or used to hear about. We were just talking about books, and Mary, you're a perfect one to talk about books.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary and I were talking about books earlier today. You want to tell Patricia what you've just gotten to read?
Oh, I just got 2 new books. One is by John Grisham, who is one of my favorite authors. It's called The Boys from Biloxi. And I got a new one from another one of my favorite authors, which is Nicholas Sparks. And the name of it is Dreamland.
I would love to hear what Dreamland is about when you get into it. Would you let me know?
I certainly will.
Okay.
I had started John Grisham, but it's a lot bigger than Dreamland. So I think I'm gonna put it aside and start on Dreamland now.
Hey, or if you're really adventuresome, you might do both at the same time.
Hey, I could do that. I don't think they'd be anything alike.
No, they probably won't. Mm-mm.
I probably wouldn't get them mixed up.
No, I had
I'm sorry, but bugged out of here earlier, but it's very hard for me. Number one, I'm on the grandpad and I've got a little tiny screen.
Yes.
So it's hard. That stuff is not as easy for me to read, but also for some reason, I don't know why, when she was talking, her words were being written across in front of me, and it was taking up space where I really couldn't see what was going on. So I decided to leave.
Well, thank you for letting me know that, Mary. I am not that familiar with the Grand Pad, so for you to tell me that helps me to be able to remember that if people don't need that closed captioning, we'll have that turned off. And if it's on, if you would remind me, because I want you
Okay.
to be able to see better.
Yeah, well, this is just such a small screen, and it's got like a 1.5-inch bar across the bottom that takes up some space, and then it's got about a 1.5-inch bar on the right that takes up a lot, another bit of it. So yeah, that stuff from the museum, I've told you, I've had a lot of problems with seeing that before anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, and we had talked about it, and I thought, well, I'm not going to miss out much on ghosts, so I went ahead and left.
Oh, speaking of ghosts, Patricia, do you mind if we back up just a minute so we can show her?
Yeah, that's fine.
Look at that.
Hi, Casper.
Mary. We were just talking about Casper, the friendly ghost.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having Casper around.
No, he's pretty cool. And then we
Yeah.
talked about the Dallas Turnpike. Were you here when that was a thing?
Yes.
Do you remember paying money to go from Dallas to Fort Worth?
Yep.
Yep. And I was amazed at how old these cars look. This picture was from 1957.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite cars was a 1957 Ford
Really?
convertible. A Ford
convertible. Oh, you were uptown, weren't you?
I was, and that was back when I had long hair, and it would be streaming out till I learned to wear a scarf.
Mm-hmm. We are cooler as teenagers than the teenagers today ever thought about being.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
And much neater too.
Oh, yes. Probably cleaner as the story goes.
Probably. What are these books we're looking at here?
These are children's books. They're little golden books, I think they call them.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think it even says at the top, a little golden book. And they're not but about 10 or 12 pages, but I was telling Patricia, I used to have one or two different ones, not these, but I just loved them. And I was so proud that I could read, and I just wore them out.
I bet.
You know, as much as we love reading.
I learned to love reading between the ages of 10 and 15.
Yeah.
Before that, I don't remember anything about it.
Uh-huh.
But
Well,
I had a very fragmented life before then, but we won't get into that. Let's talk about books.
okay. Well, when you finally had some stability in your life, you wanted to have a book so that you could carry it around, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Oh, and books will take you anywhere.
My favorite, but
Yeah.
you can tell about what time this was, I think. My favorite was Nancy Drew.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. I always wanted to be that clever, didn't you?
Yeah.
Patricia, did you ever read Nancy Drew?
Yes, and the Hardy Boys.
And the Hardy Boys, yes. And then
I
about
don't-
10 years later, there was Pippi Longstocking, who used to go digging in the trash to find treasures.
You know, I've heard the name, but I've never read any of that.
Pippi Longstocking was pretty cute. Yeah, she
Name?
was it's really, I think it was originated in the United Kingdom, if I'm not incorrect. And she was about half a bubble off plum, and she was unusual. Yeah, and she had an unusual upbringing and dressed unusually. And I think that came out about the time I was, like you said, between 10 and 15.
Right.
And it was cool to be a little different back then. Well, I tell you, the three of us can sit here and talk about books all day. And, we might just do a section on books sometime. Would y'all like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Mm. Do either of you have a history with any of that?
Definitely I worked
Brush.
at the company making those cassettes when they first started.
Really?
And those erasers were quite handy
They
because
were.
when you erase something, it left little bits, and the brush you could brush it off with.
So it wouldn't get inside your typewriter.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mary, what did you say?
I didn't mean to dominate the conversation. Let Patricia talk.
Okay. Well, there's only three of us, so not one of us can do much of that.
Oh, okay.
Patricia, you were saying?
Oh, I was saying, I remember those, in the first picture, the brush when you erase, because I used to be on typewriters a lot, during my different kind of jobs. So I remember those.
And those brushes came in handy, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. And what bright colors they were. Mary, tell us something about the manufacture of the tapes. I've never thought about what it takes to put one together. Can you describe that for us?
I worked for a company that basically their job was making 8-track, which was a lot less complicated than these, but we started making cassette.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird. It was weird because you had to, it's hard to describe. You had to put the tape in there and then snap the top on. You had a bottom that when it came to me, it already had the tape in there. And I had to turn it around to where there was just a little bit on one side and all of it was on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to snap that top on without catching the tape in there.
Whoa.
But it was quite a deal. I mean, we've been having 8-track for a long time, and for them to come out with that, I really didn't think it would ever take hold, but it sure did.
My goodness. And nobody had the right size machines.
No, that was what was really hard. Was I don't know how they sold them to start with, because an 8-track machine was a lot different than a cassette player.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Go
ahead.
I said, anyway, the forerunner of CD.
Yes. Yes. For a short time, people who had 8 tracks had a converter that they could put in their 8-track spot in their car and play a cassette tape through that converter. But they were always going wrong and pulling tapes out. And I think that probably only lasted like 1 year.
Huh.
Crazy. And then we went from mixtapes to CDs. And here we are.
Do you know what? Did you ever see, what was the name of that movie? Oh, for heaven's sake. It was about a futuristic, I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, in there, and I thought it was, and this movie came out quite a while back. But in it, a futuristic thing, they showed discs, like what a CD disc looks like, but spinning it on its edge. And it was making sound, it was, you could hear things, you could hear people talking and that kind of thing. And I thought, how weird is that back then in that movie, if I could think of the name of it, that they had that idea of a disc that talked. And then now years later, we've got discs. Of course, we don't spin them on their edge, but we spin them the other way around in a player.
How funny. Great memory, Mary. If you think of that movie, would you tell us at a later time?
Yes, ma'am, I sure will.
Okay. Now, sometimes if we think about something long enough, it'll pop back up.
Yeah, I've been watching things on my TV with birds in it, and I lived up north for a long time,
Mhm.
and I was trying to think of the name of these little tiny snowbird type things. And then I'm sitting here the other night, not thinking about anything, and chickadees popped in.
Our brains are fascinating, aren't they?
They are.
And doesn't it feel good when you can have something like that come back to you?
It does. And there was I don't know if you know who Hauser is, but he
Oh,
was
yeah.
playing a tune. And I said, that song meant very much to me a long time ago. And I won't get into that story about why, but I'm sitting here and I told the lady, my friend that was sitting here with me, she recognized the song. And I said, that came out in 1964 or 65, and Al Hibbler sang it. She'd never heard of Al Hibbler, of course, she's younger than I am. But I went and found it on YouTube and played it for her. And I said, that song came out, and I got it by Al Hibbler too. So
Oh, my goodness.
I says, isn't it strange that I can remember something from
Yes.
50, 60 years ago, and I can't remember what I went in the kitchen for a while ago.
Yeah. Oh, isn't that the truth? I can go from one room to another and I stand and think, why did I come in here?
Yep, I do that quite frequently.
Yes, we do. Does that happen to you, Patricia?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say something's right on the tip of my tongue. I know it, but that's on the tip of my tongue.
There you go.
That is the most frustrating thing in the world, to know it. You know it, but
Yes.
you can't pull it out.
And that's because we have so much wonderful stuff inside of us.
Right.
Yes, we just don't have room for it all. Okay, speaking of 76, this was a hot rod in 76.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
That was a Camaro,
Oh my.
Pontiac, or a
No, it's a Chevy. A Camaro is a Chevy.
Chevy, yeah.
Yeah.
That was such a classic line. I've always thought that was a pretty car. Patricia and I were on here for a little bit while ago, and I showed her a couple of other pictures of cars. And Patricia, this is another one that I want to be able to remember 20 years from now. If I'm still around, I want to be able to pull up this list of things from the past and remember this car because it was such a pretty car.
It is.
Yeah, it had good, clean lines to it.
What is your favorite year to remember?
A year in my life.
Yes.
A year. Probably the 1980s. I was not quite a young chick anymore, but I wasn't too terribly old. And I had a little bit of knowledge, but I wasn't too jaded. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I was out in the world making money, but not much. And I was able to be on my own and be independent. And I liked that.
Mhm.
Hey. And I didn't worry too much because I figured I had another 30 or 40 years ahead of me. How about you, Mary?
Well, you know, the funny thing about it, now I can think of good parts in a year here or there, but I can't. To me, when I try to remember what was the best time of my life, right now is the only thing that comes to mind.
Sure.
That, you know, what's going on right now is what's important to me. And I have lots of good memories. I have lots of bad memories if I tend to spend time on it, but I don't regret any year, any time in my life, because there was something good that came out of it. So, but really, when I start to, somebody will ask me, you know, if you could go back to any particular year, what year would you go back to? There's not any that I would go back to. I would rather be right now in the present. And I'm old and wrinkled, and I've got liver spots all over my body, and I'm white-headed. I'm thinking about coloring my hair a little bit. Not anything drastic. I just want to, I look so faded with my hair white.
Uh-huh.
So I thought if I could get an opinion from you and Patricia, I can't see her, but if you were as old as I am, which is 82, what kind of a light color could you put on your hair just to take it away from fading into your skin?
Mm-hmm. I stopped coloring my hair in 96. So it's been 25 years.
Yeah.
And mine grew out salt and pepper. So I'm really happy with that. And I wouldn't go back. But if you don't like your color, see, mine is salt and pepper.
Well,
you
if mine was salt and pepper, I would like that very much, but it's just Snow White.
Oh, I wish mine were. My grandmother and my mother both had hair the color of cotton. And I wish that when my hair would turn that I would go that white, and I've just never been able to get there.
It's funny, I was asking my friend last night and I said, what would you suggest? And she showed me, she said, this is my coworker's hair color. And it was salt and pepper. And she said, that would look good on you. I thought, how do you get salt and pepper hair?
You pay a lot of money to have somebody torture you. You put on excuse me?
My granddaughter told me there are people that pay good money to have your hair color.
Yes, that's true. It's true. You could be really proud of it and not do a thing. I think the most natural looking thing that a woman, as you describe, would do would be something pale, like maybe a champagne color, or maybe even see this fence right behind this car, one of those light colors,
Right.
not quite white, but not quite blonde and not brassy, but
Right.
just a sweet little sunshine, honey color, maybe.
It would have to be something like that. I couldn't. I mean, I used to wear my hair jet black. I couldn't do that anymore. If you can imagine that. But I just wanted. I look in the mirror and everything is just monotone, you know. And I thought, well, if I was just thinking if I made it like a gray type, some kind of a silvery gray or something, just so that there's some color up there that says, hey, she does have hair.
Well, if you make a decision, let us know. That'll be fun to share, won't it?
Yeah, well, you'll be able to see it if I do it.
I love it. I do. Patricia, do you have a decade or a year that you most enjoyed in your past?
Oh, when I first came here to Texas, I was proud of myself when I got my first car. Was able to get my first apartment. It feels good when you accomplish something.
Yes. Yes.
What was your favorite car? What year was your favorite car?
2012 Chevy Cavalier. I love Chevy Cavaliers. I don't know why. I like them in black.
I had one, but it was white.
Oh my goodness.
My favorite car I had briefly before my husband wrecked it. I had a 1966 Mustang.
Ooh, you were tall cotton.
Yes, ma'am. I thought I was.
They only started making them in 64 and a half.
I know. I got one of
Yeah.
the first ones they ever had.
Oh
And
my,
I like to have wrecked it when I drove it out of the dealership.
oh
'Cause
no. Was it a
just-
convertible?
Yes, ma'am, it was a convertible. I love convertible.
I enjoyed a good convertible myself.
I've only had 3, but
Well, Mary, you said you used to have long hair that blew in the wind. That was kind of tough to comb it out after you'd been on a good long ride.
that's for sure. It was, yeah, I used to, but you know what? My hair has never been curly. My
Uh-huh.
hair was just straight as a board. And so when it blew out, when it was long and it blew, it was streaming out behind me like I had.
Oh. Fabric, like fabric.
Yes,
Yeah. Oh my
That's-
goodness.
yeah, my hair was straight as a board. Most of the time I kept it perm, but
Mhm.
that back then my hair was straight as a board. That was back before I could afford permanent.
I understand. That'll happen, won't it? Here we go. Well, let's look at one more picture and we'll call it a day.
All righty.
And oh, we've got to talk about this.
Well, my children had one.
Yeah. What made them happy about having a wagon?
Having their mom pull them around.
And nowadays they even make side rails that you can put on them so the kids don't fall out.
Right.
Patricia, did you ever have a wagon?
No, I never had a wagon, but I know kids are happy when you have that, because when you go to the flea market or you places, you got to walk around a lot. They really like it, because I had my daughter, she enjoyed riding, she didn't like to walk. There's too much walking for her.
Yeah.
Those are-
I bought one in my 40s.
Oh, no.
I had never had one that I remember. If there was one in my family, I didn't remember. But I wanted a little red wagon and I bought myself one. I was so proud. I was keeping house back then, and it was good for things like carrying bags of dirt or flowers, or
Right.
carrying the groceries in from the car. I
Well,
used that wagon. Uh-huh.
have you still got it that I could borrow? Because I sure need it.
I don't. My apartment's too. I had to give everything away. No, it went with all of with the lawnmower and everything else.
All of those things. I had every possible
Mhm.
contraption that you could use in your yard. Because I
Oh,
used
yeah.
at my other apartment,
Yeah.
I had the most beautiful lawn in the whole apartment complex.
Oh my
But
goodness.
when I got to where I wasn't able to do that anymore and didn't have anybody to do it for me, I have got all those things. I gave them to my daughter and she got them in storage.
Oh my goodness. Now that's
But
a
I
walk through history.
mulcher, the blower, the mulcher,
Yeah.
the work, but don't have them anymore. So I have a hard time getting groceries from the driveway to my apartment door.
Mhm.
So that wagon would come in handy.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
My brother gave me a plastic, I guess you could call it a trolley. It looks like a little suitcase, and you push 3 little buttons and it opens up and it becomes a box about 18 inches square, and it makes a bottom, and there's a handle that you can pull up. They're plastic and they fold up to nothing.
You know what? I had one of those. I may still have one of those, or I may have given it away. I'm very good at giving things away.
I understand. They're about $20 maybe at Walmart, and there are also some metal ones that are mesh that you can move a couple of little things and you get this tall thing with a handle. I see a lot of people around here pulling those and bringing their groceries in.
I'm not dead yet, am I?
I don't think so.
The reason why, I just saw an ambulance pull up.
Well, I tell you, we're past time. So why don't you go peek out the window and find out what that is? And I'll say goodbye to you and Patricia, and we'll see you next time.
All
Okay.
right. Bye-bye. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.